At the 2016 Global Sources Fashion Show, and here I am so honored to have Livia Ip, the president of Global Sources Fashion Group. Hi, Livia.
Hi.
Thank you so much for joining us. And firstly, we know that this 10th year GS hosts its fashion show, right?
Right.
So, in your eyes, what kind of peculiarities GS Fashion Show have to attract so many suppliers and buyers?
I think the keep changing, keep moving, and keep advancing, I would say, with the suppliers, with the size of the show. We started at like 500 booths. Now we have 1,700 booths. So the content itself actually attract a lot of buyers. And also the advancement of the suppliers, especially China suppliers, they are so different from 10 years ago. We have 500 suppliers who can take smaller orders, right, which is very difficult for the original traditional China manufacturing industry. And we also have about 400 of them has their own brand, has their own design, which again, right, I think with the governments pushing for the internationalization of these industry and the advancement of the industry, I think is it kind of make the show much different from 10 years ago, right?
So you have been with the GS company for 23 years, right?
True.
Quite a long time.
Quite a long time. Not the longest.
Yeah. What's the biggest change you have witnessed of the company?
The company, I think we see more and more young people get into the management layer. We see a lot of new ideas. So we started with, when I first joined the company, we only have a magazine. And then we started the CD-ROM, which is like old thing, nobody remember anymore. And then we have the internet, right? But we have the internet service, I think 15, 20 years, much longer than our competitors, right? So, and then 1995, right? And we have the trade show. We add to the trade show. Actually, the most traditional way of trading is trade show. We added to our portfolio much later than the internet. So, we try to complete our portfolio of services and platform and all that. But we start with the very traditional like magazine. And now magazine serves as a very good tool for buyers when they come to the show. They will look at the magazine as a show guide, right? So it's a lot of changes in the company, in our services, and also the reason we add the face-to-face, right, to our portfolio is the internet trade, the safety, the unsure and never met kind of feature. So we add this face-to-face, which we call O2O, the online to offline, offline to online. I think it's a very good complement of each other, and also in this world of not enough information, but like information explosion, we call it. So this actually helps buyers to actually meet up with suppliers and get trust and see each other face to face, eyes to eyes, and then kind of be secured about trading with them, I think.
So the company is turning to more multi-channels for suppliers and buyers, right?
We have always been multi-channel, and whatever new or whatever old, right? But the opportunity comes to us when this great show floor kind of completed in 2006. So that's why we can be a bit more face-to-face than before. Used to be a lot of the venue has been occupied and no vacancy. So we started 2003 in Shanghai. Where Hong Kong don't, not the show, but Global Sources show, but electronic show and gift and home show. So however, back then Hong Kong don't have enough venue for these, right? So in the peak time, like October or April, all the venue were occupied. So then the Hong Kong government, comes up with this new venue in 2006, and that's why we, all started here. Yeah. So it's time change, and you have additional facilities, and which make your offer more complete in a way.
So GS development also in some kind of ways reflects the development of the Hong Kong society, the venue, right?
That's true. That's true too. Yeah.
Yeah. After a short tour, I found a very variety of places the
Right.
booths come from. So is there any underlying purpose of this kind of geographic distribution?
Certainly. So traditionally, well, we have about 90% from China. The rest 10% is from rest of the world. This has to do with the gradual change in the supply market, such as Vietnam, such as Cambodia, Laos. When buyers try to search for cheaper suppliers, right, or suppliers who can provide a better price products, but those areas still have their own challenges in terms of supply chain, in terms of manufacturing materials and all that, right, and skill of labor and all that. So it will be a very gradual move, but then we also want to provide this kind of content for buyers. So if they want to do something kind of simple, OEM based, and does not require a lot of high skill, then probably these are the places to do. And also our China suppliers can use that as a manufacturing base for themselves. So there are some advantage there as well for them.
Because you mentioned those emerging markets such as Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia. So because China is already well-established low-cost manufacturing hub, so how can these emerging markets stand out in the global scene?
So I would say that China being a place for cheaper labor, I think has almost ended. Because our standard of living is improving. A lot of people start their own business and all that, right? And the young people don't want to get into these traditional industry and all that, and they have a lot of options doing other things, right? So I would say more like Hong Kong and Taiwan before, some of the traditional things move into China, and now some of the traditional cheaper things require cheaper labor move to Vietnam, Cambodia, Laos. Even Vietnam, if you compare to Laos, Laos is cheaper than Vietnam, right? So, but again, right, the manufacturing supply chain. Is the supply chain complete? I think that's a big challenge for these places. However, with the information explosion, I think they will get into the game much faster than China used to be. So we, as a China supplier, we really want or really have to move up the value chain. Really have to do something value added. If you see some of the supplier here, it's a really combination of a traditional skill plus some design element and all that, right? So they cannot just rely on OEM. So, and a lot of like T-shirts and simple stuff, right? It won't be manufactured in China anymore. If any T-shirt is going to be manufactured in China, it's going to be using functional fabric with a lot of laces and stuff like that, right? It has to be like that.
So you mentioned China, and besides China, we now have a lot of other Asian emerging markets. So because Asia is always a kind of major consumer of haute couture market, but we seldom lead the trend of the high fashion. So in what aspects we can do to improve, to lead the trend?
It's not going to be easy. I think our education, Asian education is more being a good student, you don't want to be too outstanding and all that, right? So I think culture-wise, it takes time for people to be really creative, but you do see a lot more designers nowadays from mainland China, from Hong Kong, from all these ASEAN countries. However, if you say Korea, Japan, right? They have a lot of very successful designers, right? So you don't have to, So it's not just. I think it's popularity of the culture, right? So what is more popular is good student versus being creative, right? That kind of thing. And also the mothers and Asian mothers and usually want their children to be good at study, good at math and all that, right? But not very encouraging when their student want to be an artist, that kind of thing. But I think I see the parents changing. I see the change, but not fast enough, I would say, for to be in the high fashion. But you do see a lot of good designers from Asia also doing very, very well in the Western world, in the high fashion.
Oh, Jimmy Choo, right?
Yeah, Jimmy Choo or Isimaki, all those, right? So, and some of those from China. Yeah.
We have, but we need more, right?
We need more if we really want to be part of the high fashion. However, I think the current positioning of China is not that bad. We're doing our own little creativity for our own local market a bit more, rather than for the world, I would say.
So actually I have been here for several weeks and we have witnessed the most cutting edge technology, mobile electronics. So in your eyes, how can we integrate technology into fashion? So what can we expect from the fashion tech zone?
I think if you look at just here, right, these are the student things, right? The students are very creative in a way, and they are using 3D printing. They are using some of the technologies that we don't usually use for fashion, right? And then if you go to the fashion technology zone, which is in Hall 1, you will see there's Korean bags that can change the outlook, right? And also speaks and all that, right? And you also see one China suppliers actually make we wear high heels, right? We know how painful it can be. Yes. And they have this shock absorbent shoe, what do you call it? The shoe pad, right? So that you when you walk on it, it kind of greatly decreases the shock to you. So if you they have very interesting demo. I encourage you to go and take a look. And there are also other like shoe stuff, right? For example, for diabetes, for people reduce shock, reduce a lot of things, right? So the shoes. And for bags, the solar bags is not new anymore to me. I've seen solar bags long time, like back 5-10 years ago. However, they do not make a very thin solar panels and big enough solar panels or soft solar panels to make it very usable. Right, nowadays it's all good. We have suppliers doing that as well. There's also people are doing waterproof stuff, which is good enough for life saving. Right, there's also tons of those, right? And USB charging thing.
USB charging apparel?
Apparels. There's also USB charging bags. Right, a lot of them, is new, but it is a trend to try to incorporate some of the electronic goodies, right, into your clothing, into your accessories and all that, right? I would see when we have more suppliers who want to move up the value chain, technology can be one of those elements, right? Design can be another element. technology is not easy for them because wiring your clothing is not an easy thing normal traditional manufacturer can do. So they need engineer, they need a lot of different skills, right, to get in there.
Complicated work.
It's complicated, yes.
You mentioned this area is called Young and Rising Corner, right?
Yeah,
So based on what criteria, how can you choose these works from the students?
Basically, this area, we call it young designer. They are students from major design schools of Hong Kong, right? And actually, the things they showed up, or the products they showed up here are actually the ones selected by their teachers, based on the design, based on the use of material, based on their technology they used, right? And a few blocks towards the left in Hall 9, you will see some what we call young rising designers. Those rising designers are the ones who already have products, like commercial products, right? But they probably need more manufacturer to help them to manufacture the bigger supply, right? Or they need distributors to help them to set up shops, right? Stuff like that. So we have ecology. I think ecology of you have a manufacturer, you have manufacturer just doing OEM, you have manufacturer who has their own brand and all that, and also you have OEM suppliers who want to have their own brand but they don't have designers. So this is the resources available to them, right? They can hire these students when they graduate. They can also sponsor those rising designers, right, and get their design and get them manufactured and put their logos on it, right, so to be their own brand. So what we try to build is an ecosystem for fashion industry, and our original thought, right, is to help all the OEM who eventually can become OBM, which original brand, or become at least original design suppliers. This is where we call value added comes in, and this is where that our supplier can continue to make enough profit to survive, and this is how China suppliers can compete with those in Vietnam, and also if you see that there's one Vietnam suppliers down the hall, there's an area, right, the pavilion, Vietnam pavilion. Their products is actually pretty good. However, a lot of them are foreign invested companies, not the local Vietnam companies. So they are also moving. So attracting foreign investment, and these foreign investment will bring in the skills and design and all that from foreigners, right? And also the language skill, trading skill, export skill, right? So eventually, I think the locals will pick up, right? And gradually it will localize, right? And then just like China, 20, 25 years ago.
This is totally what's happening in Vietnam.
Yeah.
Actually, they can learn a lot from the ecosystem you are building.
I would say the process, right, will take shorter for them, because a lot of lesson learned from our China suppliers, and if their government and also their industry participants can learn the lesson from the China suppliers that what China has gone through for the past 25 years, I'm sure they can move much faster.
Okay, thank you. So, as a gymholic, a very personal question. I am so curious about active wear.
Right.
But some people, just like my parents, they are still indulging in that kind of stereotype that some clothes, for example, the sportswear, can only be comfortable, functional, but not fashionable. So, how can we, solve this kind of dilemma?
Elfly fashion has been, or elfly whatever, right? Elf-like things has gone through, I think, so much change, right? Used to be so boring and so athletic, right? And now it has to be fashionable. It has to they will study people like Adidas, Nike, and all that, right? They was, they have Stella McCartney, Adidas, right? So it's basically a fashion. And also nowadays you see more and more sportswear being worn as casual or leisure wear. And also, I don't know, like bra tops and all that. People are wearing it every day, I would say, especially in the Western world. It is a very common thing that you wear your tights and your bra top and put a jacket on, and that's what you wear to go to work. Some of them. And sports shoes, you see all these sports shoes with shiny stones and on it and all that. It's very comfortable to wear. Yeah. So I would say I couldn't say sports is boring anymore. Yeah, I would say most of the sports stuff, are, especially ladies, are becoming more and more fashionable.
Yeah, the top.
Yeah, really nice ones. And I see also these people are trying to improving their designs as well. How to make the bra top more comfortable, easier to wear, to put on, right? You know how difficult it is to put on that. So all that, I see a very healthy development there. Yeah.
Thank you so much for following my personal curiosity. So let's get a little bit broader. So because we're in this area, so let's get deeper in this designer. So what can we expect from the young and rising designers locally in Hong Kong and from the mainland China?
Actually, we starting from our first time, I think about a couple shows ago, we started with this Young Designer Corner. Now we have more and more schools participating in this, and more and more students participating in this. And tomorrow we have a session, or actually tomorrow and the day after, we have 2 sessions, especially for students. The design used to be 1 session, now it's too many. We have to split into 2 sessions. So I would say with the parents or the society being more encouraging, right, to the local designers, and also with these what we call the 4th generation of merchandising, or you can call it retailing, right? So people are going for like the what do you call it, small brands and more suitable for me brands, unique things. So and also the e-tailers, right, kind of make the world a lot different from before, and give these young designers a little bit more room to start, right? And also shows like this give them opportunities, right, to actually show off their designs and get interest from investors or manufacturers, right, before they even graduate. So they are in a much better situation than 10 years ago, put it that way.
Is there any successful case that a young student is very good designer and turn out to be a startup after the show?
We do. So basically, after these students graduate, right, we will try to enroll them into the Rising Designer program, right? So when they're still at school, we put them here, and it's totally free of charge, and we try to support them. When they become a rising designer, we charge them just a little bit, right, so that they will be on the other session, so that they can actually show off their commercialized product rather than just design. So it's a graduate process, and then eventually they will become one of those booths, right? Complete booths, right? And they can put up their very mature design with the manufacturing ability or manufacturing capability from offered by one of the OEMs. Yeah.
Sounds like a very mature business model for them.
At least I think if I'm a designer student nowadays, at least I know the path. At least I get to get in touch with the commercial world well before I graduate, right? So I'm a little bit more prepared, right, to get into the world than I'm just a designer student, right? Because I think the failure rate is quite high,
Yes.
right? So I don't know, my guess, right? Less than 20% of the designers who graduate and eventually become a designer, right? And like 80% of them probably end up being a salesperson or in a different industry, totally. So it is. I think it's a waste for these great minds and great creativity. So if we can encourage more people to be more supportive to these young designers, I think we will have a lot more creative brands, creative clothings and jewelries or whatever to use, and then you have a lot more choice, right?
So, because you mentioned the parents, the young designers, so what if the global economy is quite volatile during the past years, but how about the parents? They want to encourage their children to pursue those high-paid jobs, right? So, will that cast a shadow on the fashion industry?
I actually think the financial crisis actually helped being used to be working with investment bank and earning big money is everybody's dream, right? But after that financial crisis, we know that that's not the only way. And also you see a lot more young designers or individuals who make good business online, right? Doing e-tailers and all that. And actually with the e-tailing nowadays, the barrier to become a retailer is a lot lower than before. And also with this trend, right, that less people want to, well, not everybody go for luxury brands anymore. They want to buy something they feel comfortable and at the price they can afford, right? And in good quality, right? And with new design all the time. So I think if that's the trend, then I think these young designers has a lot of room rather than before. So this actually the kind of pose more threat, I think, to traditional retailers.
Yeah, that's quite creative. Because I thought you would say will cast a shadow on the fashion industry.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, but it's
So
I agree.
in a bad time, would you buy more? And you buy at a good price, right?
Oh yeah, okay.
So as a consumer, right, in a world that full of crisis, full of disappointments, right, you will buy more. You will buy something you feel comfortable with at the price you want to pay for it, right? So not necessarily everybody go for the luxury brand anymore. So
Yeah.
that was the actually the trend I saw. In the
That's
past few
true.
years.
That's true. If I am happy, I will buy more.
Happy buy more, even more.
Unhappy, I will buy more.
Unhappy you buy, and then happy you buy more.
Okay. That's how women
Yes,
live.
yes.
Okay. So final question: what's your future development strategy for the fashion show?
Continue to expand the show. For financial reason and also for the content reason. So I think this already is a very good size, but I think for most buyers, if they just source for a particular type of product, may not be enough. So for the sportswear, although we have 250, 300 booths, right? Still not big enough for some of the buyers who want to see more varieties and more suppliers. So I think that's only by improving the content we can attract more buyers. Only by attract more buyers, we can attract more suppliers to be at our show. So I think that's part of it. The second part is I want to continue with this, or we want to continue with this ecosystem to help the young designers, to help the OEM suppliers to become OBM, ODM, to help also the OEM, the new market, right, to kind of grow as well, to supplement the part that China can no longer serve. So is an ecosystem keep evolving, but I think every part is very important. You cannot just everybody go up the value chain who's going to do the lower price stuff, right? You cannot just everybody want to be a designer but don't have enough backers, right, to sponsor them. So all this I think and then no matter what, right, everybody need a face-to-face and also face-to-face in order to build the trust, right? And also everybody need more information, although it's information explosion, but how do you make that information more reliable, available, right? Reliable and available. So our online service will also go through a lot of those as well. So not just for the show itself, but also for our online service, we will also go through the same ecosystem, the same reliable suppliers for trustworthy buyers kind of move. So has been, this company is very different. The startup of this company is very different from the other company. This company actually started by Mr. Heinrichs, and his first view of building this business is to encourage the trade between Eastern and Western by building trust. Because you have trade, then you have trust, and then eventually you reach the world peace. This is actually what he wants to achieve, and I think we are still working on this. And then you will see that in Hall 11 there's a Heinrich Foundation booth there. Actually, he's helping a lot of the less privileged people in the developing new market, right, to show their products to the world and eventually try to help them to build up their trading ability, their manufacturing ability, the supply chain, all that. So it's not just business. I would say we do have a world peace view in that.
Thank you so much for sharing with us. That's great to look forward to it.
Thank you.
We have more shows from this fantastic fashion show.